Okay, In Defense of Ska will begin in just a moment. But first, I just want to say thank you for listening to the podcast. It means so much to us. And if you enjoy the podcast, tell your friends about it. The best way to do that is to, follow us on Instagram and Twitter and share our posts and let people know when they say, hey, is there a podcast I should be listening to? Say yes, In Defense of Ska. Go on to wherever you get podcasts from and subscribe to the podcast. Leave a 5-star review. Let people know that you support In Defense of Ska, that you defend ska. Thanks.
Stop the Presses formed in South Florida in 2010 and moved to New York 5 years later. It was there that the group really found their sound, pop meets ska, with no horns and an emphasis on keyboards and vocal harmonies. Their vibe is 60s through the 80s, and on their last 2 records, 2019's Money in the Bank and their recently released Got It, they worked with Agent J of the Slackers to sonically craft their records exactly how they envisioned them. Today we talk to 3 members of the group, Allie, Danny, and Carol, and we dig into the new record, the band's history, and their many tales with RVs.
Aaron, when people talk about ska, what's one of the elements that they say, oh, all ska bands have this?
Horns.
Yes, but Stop the Presses, no horns.
Yeah.
I really appreciate ska bands that can do it with no horns.
I've noticed actually that bands of this newer generation are emphasizing keyboards a lot more than like Stop the Presses, Catbite, Bad Operation. I really like that keyboard's taking a front role in ska bands again.
Yeah, me too. More organ-driven ska, please. More keyboard-driven ska.
The other thing that they have that maybe the other bands don't have is a heavy emphasis on vocal harmonies.
Yes. How good are you at vocal harmonies, Aaron?
I am amazing.
You actually are.
Not really.
You're pretty good.
Yeah, I'm the best singer. Before we get into Stop the Presses, I want to talk a little bit about Rude Girl Review, since I believe we have 2 members of the review here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me, I just want to hear a little bit of your story about getting involved with it. Both of your stories, I don't know if they're the same or if they're a little different.
Yeah, Allie was a original member, was part of their first show with oh my gosh,
At
it's the festival,
Supernova.
Supernova, of course.
Right.
And I think once that gig happened, they did some restructuring of how they wanted the band to run. I think they needed some more rhythm section players. And I play bass, as well as singing. So it was a good fit. So that's how I got involved. Allie recommended me, which I'm very grateful for. And yeah, it's been a great ride ever since.
Allie, so tell me about, did they reach out to you at some point as they were putting the project together?
Yeah, so Kristen Forbes and Jenny Whiskey both had reached out to me about playing keys and singing a couple of songs at Supernova. They were really trying to get every like a woman from every band that was playing at the festival, which was awesome.
So you were already playing. So Stop the Presses was already scheduled to play.
Yep, we were scheduled to play, and gosh, what a festival! It was really something spectacular. Both sets were incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we were scheduled to play. And then when Jenny and Kristen were like, and Tara, of course, Tara was also a big part of putting this together. After Supernova, we knew that we wanted to do a few more shows together, and East Coast, we're all like kind of Northeast. I said, yeah, we got to bring in my girl. We got to bring in Carol. She plays bass. She's incredibly talented, a fabulous singer. What about my girl? No, I didn't. I'm just kidding.
Good to have an advocate like that for you. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, Carol, I was pretty pumped to, I only knew that you were a singer. And then I saw on Instagram, it popped up a video of you playing bass. It was really awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. I got my first bass when I was 16. Played in bands throughout high school and college. A lot of punk, a lot of indie, some R&B. So this has kind of been my first dive into ska and, reggae, dub, bass.
Wow.
But that's been really exciting because, Jade has been a really wonderful teacher. And Hatchet has some wonderful feedback and recommendations for me. Getting to play with Allie in a rhythm section has been something really special to me. So it's been an incredible experience.
That's awesome.
What is it like playing ska and reggae bass compared to the other styles that you've already played?
Yeah. It's laid back. You're holding back and trying not to jump on the beat, which I feel like sometimes I will do in something like punk or even some of the disco and R&B stuff. You're really on the one, but it's a lot about laying back and holding back on the beat, and that's been like a new experience as a bass player for me.
I hadn't even realized that you were new to playing like ska and reggae on the bass. Like from that video, I was like, oh dang, this must have been a thing you've been doing for a while.
Oh man, well, I really got into ska when I met Allie and Danny. So that was only in like 2017. When I joined Stop the Presses, played my first show with them. It was, like a dive into a new genre for me. So, I've been listening a lot over that time and absorbing what I can, but getting to apply it to bass was a new experience for sure.
Nice. I just want to back up really quick. When you were 16, what was the first thing you learned how to play on bass?
Oh my gosh. A System of a Down song was definitely the first thing I learned how to play on bass.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Ali, I don't know if this is a Rude Girl Review specific thing or a you thing, but you go by Lady Skaga. Is that for Rude Girl Review only?
No, that's just a Instagram handle. Yeah, just a funny thing, I'm officially Ali Presses. I'm married to Danny Presses, so I'm officially, and my child is Stop Presses. It's a bunch of people.
At Supernova, you sang Respect. Is that what you sang at Supernova?
Saying Respect, and I sang a medley with Tara Han from 2:30, and we did like an Express Yourself, and of course a Lady Gaga song, Born This Way. I do love Lady Gaga. I love a lot of like divas and stuff. So yeah, it's fun.
Was that your first experience actually embodying Lady Skaga?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Maybe
it's always been there, right?
I have like a lot of different alter egos.
Like what?
There's definitely like a little Gwen alter ego. It's kind of like a strange story, but it helps you kind of get out of yourself sometimes. So when I met Danny, like I had never I was in bands in high school, but I like played keys in like screamo bands, and like they weren't like bands. We were just messing around, and so like when I moved to Miami, I met Danny, and I auditioned for his band. I was like kind of nervous, especially in the Miami like punk scene and everything. It's like it's hard, and so like part of me being a better performer on stage was trying to embody an alter ego. And so I think just throughout the years, I kind of have been inspired by different female, badasses.
So that the alter ego that you embodied when you first played with Danny, what was the alter ego?
Oh my God. I don't, probably at that time was like my little Gwen phase. Yeah.
So between Gwen and Lady Skaga, have there been others?
Yeah, definitely. Like, oh my God, Bikini Kill, like right now just doing Rebel Girl and everything like that. I just, I love that band so much. I think I try to embody that as well. But I'm, like now it's more, I mean, I don't know. This is all just, it's all for fun,
Yeah, was it your decision to cover Rebel Girl on the new record?
Actually, we were approached to do a compilation for Specialized.
Oh, okay.
And it was all about riot girl movement and female empowerment songs. And we looked on the list, and just like being a fan of Bikini Kill, Danny and I saw Rebel Girl. I was like, oh my God, Danny, we got to pick this one. And certain circumstances, there was some family emergencies and a couple of things that happened with our members, with Danny and with Steve, just kind of like, prolonged the recording process for us. So we were supposed to do Rebel Girl for the comp, but the way that it came out, I mean, like, I feel like Danny and I started demoing it, and then within a week, our demo was completed, and it was like, all right, guys, we've got the song for you. It was really fast. It was a lot of fun. That one actually, okay, so interestingly enough, the beginning is definitely a nod to Dolly Parton, whom we all love as a band. Yeah. Whom we all love as a band. Is a great fake out too, like when we're playing this. But I remember Danny was like, we should just do Rebel Girl, like super Rudy ska, and I was like, oh yeah, I totally dig that. And we have like a home recording setup here, especially since the pandemic, and this whole record really was like a pandemic record for us. We did a lot of it at home or like at our rehearsal space together. But anyway, yeah, I was like, I wonder if Florence and the Machine, like, I wonder if that singer was like singing this, this version. And I guess that's where this whole like, rumbly beginning came from, like why I started singing in that tone. So anyway, that's who I was embodying at that time. I love so much. I'm so inspired by so many different artists that it really lets me play around a lot. So I mean, this is all play for me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not like art gets created in a vacuum. You're going to be influenced by whatever you're listening to.
Yeah, just whatever's going on around you,
Totally.
I'm curious, something about the video I've been wondering about, and that's the mural that's in the video in several shots. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I just saw that another piece by that same artist in Williamsburg the other day. I work in that side of Brooklyn, but it's just a great wall. It's one artist who wrote pasta over and over again in different styles, like in different tiles, and it kind of ends up looking like a checker pattern, low key, but it's just a dead end alleyway off of a mostly industrial like back corner near the Gowanus Canal area, for anybody who knows the stuff I'm talking about. That was just quiet and had great morning sunlight. And Allie and I, we went around and we started, scouting locations, because we had this idea for what we wanted the music video to be, with this whole walking around thing, and also like with that slow motion shot that we got there that was inspired by like all of the 90s and early 2000s music videos that we watched on MTV. They all like use that slow motion or fast motion stuff really, really well. And I thought it would be dope to do that, but we wanted something that was interesting, that would like, the whole, the band in that scene is just like messing around, doing dumb stuff in the background. And we wanted something that was just going to be visually engaging and interesting. And the pasta wall, as it came to be known for us, was a great location. And then later on in the day, we found the other location, which is the walking down the sidewalk. It's just a good chunky sidewalk that then had good afternoon light, so we could split up our day and do the one shot kind of in the morning before lunch, before it got really hot, and then go home for a couple of hours and then reset to a new location in the afternoon. It's just efficient filmmaking,
Sure. The other mural that you saw by this artist, what was the style?
It was a much simpler style. It was just classic bubble letter graffiti, no real background. You could tell that was more rushed. He didn't have the time that he had on this dead end street. It was just on the second level of a taller building that he clearly got on the first level of the building next door, and just threw it up. Like I said, much more fast, much more rush, just three colors, simple bubble letters kind of thing. But
Cool.
big up to that artist. Thank you.
You don't happen to know their name?
Pasta. I think that's part of the point.
Shout out Pasta.
Shout out
Yeah.
Pasta. During the lead up to the record, there was like every so often there'd be an Instagram video where you were dancing. It was kind of like a little dancing video, kind of synchronized.
Yeah.
Do you guys kind of work on and discuss your dancing
Yeah.
in general for the show? Yeah, I would like to hear about that.
Yeah, the dancing sort of started just from being inspired by Allie and Danny's moving music. It's music that you can move to. It's good dancing music, and I would find myself in the early gigs doing similar things in the same places, trying to accentuate hits or trying to show the change in beats or in feel to the audience. And there was always a response to it. So before we went on a tour in 2019, it was going to be my first extended tour with Stop the Presses. Allie and I just started talking, and we said, is this something that we want to explore and coordinate with the other background singer? And it's kind of come a bigger thing for us. I feel like, now Allie and I will talk about what we want to do, and we'll choreograph. We have, sectionals where we do dance rehearsals and vocal sectionals together. So yeah, it's definitely coordinated. It's something we put a lot of thought and energy and love into, in hopes that it'll inspire other people to feel confident and comfortable dancing.
I just want to add, Danny and I were watching this documentary. Danny, which one was it? The ska movie?
Ska in the 90s.
Ska in the 90s.
Yeah.
And there was this there's this thing that happens at our shows is our music is yes, it's ska and it's rock steady, it's very danceable, and there's a groove, but there's a lot of stuff going on. And sometimes people don't know what to do when they're watching our sets. They're they just watch, they're watchers. And Danny and I were watching that documentary, and I think it was Hepcat was talking about, I don't know, what was the show? I feel like Danny, you know more a little bit about this.
It was in the middle of the country, Nebraska and stuff. People didn't know how to dance to the music at all. And they were at first offended by it or hurt that yeah, dude, these people don't like us, or they don't care about what we're doing, or they're and they were commiserating to a fellow musician, and then somebody suggested to them, it's no, dude, they literally don't know how to dance to this.
Yeah, and it was Carol already is such a great dancer. She's a lot of fun on stage, and it was Danny and I love a lot of those big Tina Turner's shows. You know what I mean? We we're in a wedding band together. Actually, the three of us are. Our whole band is. But we watching old Tina Turner videos, live shows, and her dancers were just incredible. These background singing dancers, and you see the Bruno Mars, or you see The Weeknd, you see just all of these people
the Temptations, Motown movement.
Yeah,
that shit's big too.
Yeah, you know what? This is kind of maybe this is something we can kind of incorporate a little bit more, and having the time to get together and dance to the songs is really really fun.
The band is called Stop the Presses. When you guys go to work and work as a wedding band, what's that called?
Oh, that's a different title. That's actually Jack, our drummer's band, and it's called the Chromantics.
Yeah, if anyone's getting married, hit us up.
Yeah, it's a big 10 or 11 piece band.
Oh, so it's an expanded ensemble.
Yeah, this is a, we're doing all the hits.
Are you doing R&B hits, or from what era?
It's 50 years of pop music. It's really does from the late 60s all the way up. It's just wedding music. We play wedding music.
What's a song that just hits Always, every wedding.
Oh God, Sweet Caroline. It's all right. I don't know why I'm knocking it so much. It's fine. Oh, and I want to dance with somebody. Give me a break. That's it.
Mhm.
And if you don't have it at a wedding, like, what are you even? Why are you even getting married?
Yeah, or like modern stuff like Treasure. Treasure hits hard.
All the Bruno Mars is so much fun to play. I do like just keys in the wedding band, and like I love playing all of that. It's so much fun.
The new record got it. It was a COVID record, meaning you didn't. I assume you didn't start it until after COVID.
That
Is that correct?
is. I think we. Yeah. Right, Danny. What's the timeline on this?
Yeah, I don't remember when exactly. So we recorded "Make the Best of It," or rather, we recorded the rhythm tracks for "Make the Best of It" and "C" with Jay at his new location of Stabby Road, Agent Jay, of the Slackers. Um, and he had moved into a new spot and got this sick basement and started putting together a proper studio. And he needed to check sounds, and we needed a track for a comp that we were like late for. That's a running theme here. You'll hear a lot of that.
I know that same theme over here.
Yeah, we recorded the rhythm tracks for "Make the Best of It" in C in one day, just like getting the room together over there, and they sounded so dope. And so we had to run to get just "Make the Best of It" done, and C kind of sat in a room for a year. And then I think that was like right before um the pandemic. No, it can't be. That's too late. That's too early. No, it had to have been right between the lockdowns.
Yeah.
Because we were wearing masks. Yeah, we were wearing masks. Like that's the real test. Was I wearing a mask?
Yeah, Danny, how do you feel about recording in a mask versus not recording in a mask?
I play guitar, so it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, but I play guitar too. But I feel much better wearing a mask because nobody can see the stupid faces I make when I play guitar.
That's actually a phenomenal point. I was gonna say that about like being on the sidewalk or being on the subway. Like I feel like the amount of anonymity I get on the subway now is killer because of the mask. But I will stand behind you on that one, Adam, for sure.
I think I heard an interview or read an interview with you guys in like late 2019, and there was like we're going for it. Things are about to pick up for us. So was that really the case? Were you guys kind of really derailed from COVID in terms of your plans?
Absolutely. I had to cancel our entire tour. That was a lot.
We were going to leave like on March 13th, and New York City went into lockdown that day, I think.
Yep.
We were supposed to be touring our new record, after all this stuff, and we also had a few like much bigger local shows planned. We were going to play an Agrolite show that it was just going to be us and the Agrolites at the Knitting Factory, and like all of these were like these dominoes that started to fall and people reaching out to us, and then they completely disappeared.
Oof.
Yeah. Oh, and Pusa Fest and Supernova. And that was like, and then again, like having to cancel, I think it was like a 2.5 week tour, and I, just having to reach out and cancel all those dates. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that you went to start working on a new record earlier than you would have?
Yeah, maybe because there was a lot of downtime. I feel like there was a lot of downtime. Although I will say that like we do purposely try in the fall. Like right now, it's about to get cold in the north here and in New York, and so we do try like at this time to write the music, which I suppose we were already planning to do that. But it gave everybody a little bit more time.
The record cover, pineapple. Is there a story behind why there's a pineapple on the cover of the record? I like that it's a pineapple. It's unique. I just want to know.
It's a marrying, of a couple of different ideas. We play this weird road game called Got It, or we call it Got It. It's got a few different names, but it's like a mind meld game where you say got it, and then you wait for somebody else to say got it, and that means that you both have thought of a word. And then you go count down, okay, 1, 2, 3, and you say the word at the same time. Then you take those two words and you try to come up with a middle point based on word association. and then you whittle that down to the people finally say the same word at the same time. And sitting or standing in a parking lot waiting for food on one of our tour stops the in 2021, it was the family reunion tour, right after, in between lockdowns, I think, out in between lockdown 2 and 3. um, we were just waiting for food. Jack says got it, I say got it, and we look at each other, 1 2 3, pineapple.
This was like a week into the tour, yeah.
Yeah, we'd been like on each other for a week and plus already, and we both, like, everybody just kind of went silent. Everybody was like in their conversations and stuff, and just like kind of like looked up and was like, did that just happen?
First time ever?
First time ever. And Jack was the one who introduced the game to us, and he'd apparently been playing it for years and has never had that happen with anybody. There's like, this is one of those dumb things in the world where it matters and it also doesn't really matter. Jack, Steve, our drummer, and myself are all Sagittariuses. Jack is on the 20th, but Steve and I both have the same birthday, December 3rd. Um, but we share this like uncanny connection sometimes that's phenomenal. And like I said, it's BS. It doesn't mean anything, but it somehow always means something as well.
I like it. It's when you have something that's just just some personal meaning or personal coincidence, like a pineapple, like it just catches you. It just, when you look at it, when you don't have any knowledge of what went into making that, you're just like, oh, a pineapple. It's just different. It's just like it catches your eye in a unique way. Like if you use ska, like typically ska imagery, it wouldn't catch you because sort of conditioned for that.
That is an actual consideration. We purposely try to stay away from it. Money in the Bank was also that, for us.
Yeah.
We wanted to stay away from like a picture of ourselves or going with like a retro thing or anything that would be more in the ska vein, and maybe like a little more timeless and not of its period. All of that is on purpose.
I'm pretty curious about the guitar tone. You want to talk a little bit about your tone?
Sure.
I don't know. I'm not technical about guitars, but it strikes me as kind of a unique tone for the music you play.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Uh, this was the other portion of the album cover also, is that Ali and I kind of have been like super obsessed with space lately, like this idea of like cowboys versus aliens, or something, and the pineapple's kind of in space.
It's because the movie. We saw the movie. Yeah, like we're there right now. That's where we're at.
My guitar influences are super varied and they're kind of all over the place, but they all sit either in the world of like early pop, Beatles, Kinks, that kind of thing, then into psychedelia of like Pink Floyd and like, even like Can or Tortoise and like that kind of weird ass stuff. And then into like real 80s and 90s metal, Metallica, Slayer, um, the big four, all that kind of stuff. And
Mhm.
and then the very last little button of that is honestly my local hero, our producer on our first two records, and kind of like just my personal guru growing up, is this guy named Fernie Coipel, who's like a weirdo, and he was like this like force for good in our community. And one of the biggest things that he did was just introduce me to a ton of music, and he's a phenomenal player who will just like live in his hometown forever, and that's great. But yeah, I'm like kind of into like that open wah sound, like kind of in the middle of the wah pedal range sound, using both of my pickups for a lot of stuff, sometimes getting into the tail, but not completely. So there's a bottom end to the top end that cuts through. And I like a lot of, I like especially on the records, I like to use a lot of tremolo, which is very stylistically period correct between like 60s to 80s, and also correct for the genre in a lot of different ways. um and it's just like everything else that we do, our music is one foot in the past and one foot in the future as much as possible. And I think the guitar tone is doing that. I also use like this amp on purpose. It's the Fender. I'm sorry, it's the Fender clone made by Peavey. It's the Peavey Classic series that they made in the early '90s. That's like kind of got like this fakeness of the '80s Peavey metal solid state sound. but then mixed with real tube electronics, of a 60s, 70s Fender. Um, and it just sounds kind of dreamy and weird, and it's like David Bowie in a box. Um, those are all the pieces.
Fascinating, though. So I want to talk about earlier this year, I believe, your RV broke down on tour.
Yeah, tragically.
I want to talk about that specific incident, then I want to talk about your RVs in general. Okay. So first off, tell people what happened. You were on tour somewhere in was it like Texas or Louisiana?
We were on our way to Louisiana. We were on our way to New Orleans. And we were going through
Alabama.
Yes, Alabama. We were like, it was like Sunday, like we just did the first leg of our tour with
Deals
Gone Slack. Yeah, and it was wonderful, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then it was like that Sunday afternoon. We had like 2 days off, so we're like, great, we can get to NOLA, and we're gonna like stay there. Jack's sister has an Airbnb there, so we're like, oh, this is gonna be wonderful. And we're going through, like, we just got right outside of like Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Jack's driving the van. All of a sudden, there's like smoke. I think I was like napping at the time, because the great thing about the RV is that you've got like your own beds and everything, so you can sleep. But anyway, Danny was like, all right, I think that's it for this. And we're like, no, it's going to be fine. And he knows Danny is like kind of a fixer-upper. He can do anything. But anyway, kind of knew right upon looking at it, no, this is major. So being that what time it was already like 5:00 when we broke down.
On a Sunday.
We're on the side of the highway. On a Sunday. We're on the highway.
In the Bible Belt.
In the Bible Belt.
In the Bible Belt. Nothing's open. So we slept in the RV on the side of the highway that night. It was terrifying. And the minute that we woke up and, we called, of course, like, our like Good Sam, they can't like tow they ended up towing it, right, Danny?
Yeah, that was the problem, is that it's an RV. You need a decent sized rig to get it, and they couldn't find anybody on Sunday night, and even it took them half of Monday to find somebody for us.
Oh yeah, it was awful.
Where did you have to get it towed to?
To Tuscaloosa, which was like an hour behind us. We were like 20 minutes from NOLA, but it's like there's nothing for an hour on either side of those state borders.
So we got it towed at this just local place. These people were so kind. They let us stay there on the property for like, that Monday. And for half of Tuesday, like we left Tuesday night, but we ended up leaving our RV there. It was it had blown a piston right through the engine, and that was kind of it for our Dolly. That's what we named her, was Dolly. So we ended up leaving her there, and we did a GoFundMe just for about $5,000, which was what it was going to be to cost us to get 2 rentals so that we could do the rest of our tour. We were scheduled to play South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, on Wednesday. So it was just like Tuesday was supposed to be NOLA, and then it was supposed to be the South by Southwest showcase. It was, we really wanted to make the rest of the tour happen. And it was 24 hours, and we had the $5,000 to help us with the financial burden of doing the rest of the tour, which was just absolutely incredible. And, we didn't even think about like having, doing more. And it was even Carol was like, these people are all like doing this for you guys and for us. And, we should really extend it a little bit more just to help, because, Danny and I really do fund a lot of this. It's a lot, it costs a lot to go on the road, and we want to make sure, that everyone's comfortable and all of that. So anyway, so we did $10,000, and we got $10,000 within a week. Within like 3 weeks. And it's just incredible, and it's really, really moving. I think about it all the time, and just how so many people supported us and really got us through not only the rest of that tour, but helped us to have some capital for our new bus, which we just got, Catalina. And we couldn't have done that really without the help of our fans and friends.
Yeah.
Just like, what an incredible scene. It was amazing.
Now, Catalina's your third RV?
This is
Yes.
actually the fourth,
No, it's third.
right?
No, it's the third one. Ethel, Dolly, and Catalina.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about Ethel. This is your first RV for the band.
She was a cool purchase. We got it off of some guy who was like a boat captain and just had every kind of auxiliary vehicle you could imagine in his yard. He had like jet skis and four-wheelers and mopeds and motorcycles and just everything. And he had this RV that he'd have taken apart and couldn't, and he got too deep into, and I offered him, you know, a couple of bucks for it. RVs are very, very cheap, y'all. They're really cheap, especially in the southeast and the southwest. Um, they're much more approachable than you think. You always take a bath on it when you try to resell them. They're usually very low mileage engines. And if you catch them at the right like age period, it's kind of like a piano. You don't want to pay full price for a piano. You want to get a piano that's like 20 years old. That's the perfect piano. And it's this kind of the same thing with RVs. Like you want to get an RV that's like 15 years old. That's the right number.
So then, okay, when does Dolly come into the picture?
Dolly came in 2019 because that's like, it was right after we did Money in the Bank. Danny and I, again, we went like upstate. We went and looked. Actually, I sold my piano. I sold my Boston. So sad. So that we could buy Dolly, and we went up, and kind of a similar story. The man that had the RV had also started doing work on it, and this one was a little bit more gutted than our previous RV. But then Danny and I had like a couple of months, and I mean, you know, we gut renovated it. We completely took everything out. Danny installed bunk beds. It was incredible. Like, you know, kind of watch it. Like I said, the man does a lot. I'm very thankful to have someone like that.
Was this the first time that you had a bed for everybody when you got to Dolly?
Yeah. In Ethel, like we couldn't do a lot of stuff to it because it was kind of in original condition, and I was scared to do it. And then we ended up moving to New York before like we had too much time with her. But then Dolly was had some water damage, and somebody had already taken out all of that bad wood and replaced it and everything. So it was kind of in raw shape, at least halfway raw shape. And we took out the kitchen additionally to that and added 4 bunk beds plus the like over cab canopy sleeps 2 people. So Allie and I would sleep there above the cab, and everybody had their own bed every night, everywhere that we went, which was very nice.
And their memory foam.
Wow. Fancy.
Very comfortable.
Did you really bring puppies with you on the tour?
Yeah, every tour.
They come with us everywhere.
Whose dogs?
They're me and Danny's dogs.
What are your dogs' names?
Pepper and Betty.
Pepper and Betty. Okay. And so, what happens? Do they stay in the RV during the show?
Yeah, we like run a generator, and they, you know, they're tiny dogs. They love it as long as they're with us. You know, they love our bandmates so much. They're just happy, and it's a little bit of like an emotional support thing. Like, I don't know what it is. It definitely makes me so happy all the time. It feels like home. You know.
They're the best dogs ever. Very grateful to have them on tour with us. Seriously, it makes like a huge difference for everybody to have them and their cute little faces and their wiggly butts on the bus whenever you get back in.
And then, so the I forgot the name of the new RV, the current RV.
Catalina.
Okay.
Catalina Sporty Spice is her full name.
Tell us a little bit about this one. What's the state of Catalina Sporty Spice?
Catalina's like by far the newest and in best condition bus that we've bought. Really, it was about having enough capital at the right time. That's the secret to life that people don't understand about poverty, is that you just never get the capital. So you can't move. You got to be ready for when the opportunity strikes. And we were just cruising Craigslist constantly and RV Trader and like all the haunts.
We weren't in a rush, so it was just like we spotted this one and we could take our time, getting a good price and everything.
And the guy was asking for a lot. He was asking for almost 10 grand, and we had nowhere near that. And we offered him like 7. And it took like a month, it took like 5 weeks, kind of just like I went to go see it. He was like, yeah, I can't take that. And I was like, all right, well, look, just keep me around. If it doesn't work out, I'm very serious. And I would text him every Monday, hey, and he'd like, not yet. I'm like, cool. And then next Monday, hey, not yet, cool. And then I finally gave up after 5 weeks. I was just like, all right, I'm not going to text him anymore. And dude, that Sunday night, he texted me with, hey, are you still interested? And I sneakingly drove up there with Steve one Wednesday, the following Wednesday, and just grabbed it, brought it down to Brooklyn, and then took a bunch of pictures of us being inappropriate all over it, and sent it to the band.
It was so great.
Okay, so the Stop the Presses forms in like 2010 in South Florida.
Yeah.
So Danny and Allie, you're from South Florida. Tell me a little about where you're from.
I'm actually I was born and raised in like West Palm Beach, like Palm Beach County, West Palm Beach. I moved to Miami when I was 18 to go to a school down there, to go to conservatory. And I think I was already like a year or two in my undergrad. And I was, I've always played classical piano my whole life. And that's what I was studying for at the time. And, but also I'm like a 90s kid. So I just love, ska and punk rock. And so I was just looking for a project. And at the time I was just looking, just like I had some songs and I was like, I need to find a band to like play these songs with me, blah, blah, whatever. And I'm on MySpace. And like, I don't know a whole lot about Miami. I like lived in downtown near, I went to New World School of the Arts. So I just lived there. And I like, I look on MySpace and there's an ad for surf punk ska band, Only Right Left, in Hialeah. And I was like, where's Hialeah? And Hialeah is where Danny's from. And it's honestly shaped so much, I feel like, of who we are, at least who I became as a songwriter and a musician. It's a wonderful, very artistic community that Danny can speak more about because it's his hometown.
Yeah, tell us about Hialeah.
Hialeah is the second highest only speaking Spanish population city in the U.S. So in that city, more people speak only Spanish than anywhere else except for one place. And that one place is the neighboring town, Hialeah Gardens. I am Cuban. My parents are Cuban exiles. They met in Hialeah, and I was born and raised there. I was raised in Spanish. The first 8 years that I was in the job market, like in the world, I worked in Spanish. I worked at Walgreens as like a store clerk from like 15 to 19, and then at like sign companies and different stuff like that, and real estate companies, and everything was in Spanish. I just grew up Latin, which is weird because you would have never guessed that looking at me. And thankfully being in New York has cleaned up my accent a lot, both in English and in Spanish. But Hialeah's got this like really cool feeling that's kind of an extension of Cubanness, which is kind of like a fuck you, we're gonna do our own thing, don't touch our shit, because we, every time anybody's ever tried to touch our shit, it's gone really badly.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of people just doing exactly what they want to do out there. And that's even part of the musical attitude. There's really cool, weird stuff that's influenced from so many different places and so many different people. And it is kind of like this culture that doesn't assimilate, but the musicians know the songs, and it all infiltrates. So there's like, great cool syncopation and weird rhythms, but there's also like blaring distorted guitar, you know, and there's people like screaming, but it's not in a language you've heard before. And like all of that was very much on display for me from a very young age. And like I said, I had this wonderful local influence in my life that, once again, Fernie Koipel from a beautiful band named Humbert down there, that was just like the best weirdo possible. He goes around and does like recording engineering as a thing for career day, like goes to elementary schools. I met him originally when I was like 12. I was a Boy Scout, and he came to my Boy Scout troop to show 16 millimeter vintage cartoons like Mr. Magoo and stuff like that. And I already like knew that he was a musician, but then the drummer of that band was an English teacher in my middle school. And they used to do this like middle school concert every year that they would show the kids what like rock and roll looked like. And it was an incredible lesson from very young about how to do what to do. We got to go to a real recording studio with a really patient guy who like honestly taught me to play to a click. You know.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, all of those like lessons are just beyond invaluable. He even got a day um from the city council. I went to a meeting where they gave him a plaque that it's actually coming up. October 23rd is Fernie Koipel Day in the city of Hialeah. So yeah, we like Hialeah has its own water treatment facility. It has its own library separate from the rest of Miami-Dade County. We have our own police force. We have our own everything. We want nothing from you. And that's the vibe, dude. And that's like that DIY spirit is throughout everything that we do.
Was there much happening in reggae ska before you started the band?
No, not that so much. Like, like Ali said, we're 90s kids. Like MTV was on, and like we listened to a lot of punk rock. And then I was in marching band in high school, which is the answer to that question always. And I was, in marching band in high school in the early 2000s. And then when you learn a little bit more about music, and you're like, wait a minute, you can put horns on this? Uh, and and then like you start working your way back to and I've spoken about this before, but for me specifically it was very weird because I went back through the 90s third wave California to two-tone in England, and then realizing that that's all a product of Jamaican folks leaving Jamaica and going over there, and like the skinheads and two-tone, all that stuff being all connected, and then realizing that um a third of the Scatolites are Cuban born or half Cuban in some way or another, and realizing that the Cubans have been there from the beginning was weird for me. Um, it was a weird way to come home. It was like this full circle thing that was just like, oh, cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of people. I don't know why it's right there. Like some of the Scotolite songs, the Cuban elements are pretty pretty overt. Like yeah, they don't hide it. But yeah, people don't really seem to bring it up much.
Roland Alfonso. It's really, especially in those early recordings, it's all because of him, because he ran the horn line. And I was talking to some old Jamaican cat that was just my Uber driver one day as a record collector, and he told me, I am yet to like fully verify this, but he told me that Jamaican music originally didn't have horns. It was the Cubans that brought it from the Cuban dance halls, that were much more modeled after American jazz, that then got brought over to Jamaica for the same reason, for the tourism.
So your first show is October 30th, 2010. Is the first Stop the Presses show?
Yeah, that was our first show.
It's a Halloween show, basically.
Yeah, at the Shack, which is, Danny keeps bringing up Fernie Koipel, who we both look up to as a mentor, and just great person to shape who we become. And it was at he has like a rehearsal space / venue in Hialeah, and it was at the Shack.
Halloween shows become a tradition for Stop the Presses, right?
Yeah, we love it.
More and more elaborate. At one point, you perform It's Pronounced Nuclear.
Oh my God, how are you finding this?
Yeah.
What? Tell us what it's pronounced nuclear is.
We were part of an artistic collective. Once again, all of this stuff is we were weirdos. We wanted to do our own things and be our own community. We had this thing called the Artist Collective Extravaganza that was visual artists, painters, dancers, performers, circus folk, uh, stand-up comedians, musicians, and all this stuff. And we wanted to do all of these like immersive, um, top to bottom experience shows, and they were all like kind of scripted and emceed, and you'd walk through and appreciate art mixed with music in certain ways, and they were all like varying degrees of complex, and one of the most complex was the Carnival of Horrors that we were going to do, which was this big Halloween party that my piece was going to be a 20-minute musical about the end of the world. um and the unfortunate bit about this is that in Florida, it rains, and it rains for real. And that night, we got literally just 12 inches of water for no reason. Um, the parking lot in this series of warehouses flooded into the warehouses. Several people lost hundreds of thousands of dollars of stuff in these warehouse blocks because of this flooding. We had to set up sandbags to even just keep
Yeah,
it
it was
into the
crazy.
front room. People, like nobody came. It was like hours and hours of just rain and rain and rain, and then finally it stopped raining around 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, and people just started showing up, driving in the water.
I mean, let's be real though. Like, nothing starts in Miami like before 10 o'clock.
So we made it happen. People showed up in costumes, and this was part of like we always did these big Halloween parties that got bigger and bigger, and this was the biggest one we were ever attempting. And I wrote this musical called It's Pronounced Nuclear, about um, basically there was some ridiculous computer error, and all of the nuclear weapons in the U.S. stronghold were going to detonate, or rather, we're gonna go out and detonate in random locations all over the world, and there was no way to stop it, and it was going to decimate 95% of the population. This is on the day after Christmas, and we come into this stoner girl named Lucy in her apartment who like can't even be bothered to show up to work, um, and she turns on the news and finds out that the world is ending. So then, just as that happens, her conspiracy theorist next door neighbor bangs on her door and says, like, dude, did you hear that? We need to get out of here. We need to do something. We need to figure out a way to get to a shelter. We're close enough to DC. And he pulls out this big, extravagant map of all of the closest nuclear shelters that he can get to. And they like devise a plan to get to one of the shelters, and as they get out onto the sidewalk, some nuclear physicist is dumped out of a white van in front of them on the sidewalk, and explains that he tried to warn the president about this months ago, but they put the military in charge of the investigation. They basically uh, accused him of being a terrorist and tortured him for months, and then obviously got nowhere because the guy didn't know anything. But he has a plan, and if they can just get to X location and he can get to a computer, he can fix the computer error and save the world. Will they make it?
When are you going to record this as a record?
We keep saying we're going to. It will come to fruition. I
Yeah.
have actually since then added like
Okay.
3 or 4 more songs and a couple more scenes. It is my dream to one day get it performed in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like keep telling Danny like he's got to finish it. The songs were really really great. It was a really fun project to be a part of as well.
What year was this production?
2012, 2013.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and it was I was Lucy, and then our drummer at the time, Gus Rojo, was the neighbor
Hank.
Hank. So we both got to it was another like just kind of fun crossover thing. The music is like a rock and roll musical. So the music is really, really awesome.
I was going to ask earlier, but Hurricane Ian, how did your area, I know you didn't live there and you don't live there now, but was that area?
We're East Coast, so it didn't like affect it too much. It just rained really bad, for our family. But we do have friends and many friends in the scene that are over there, and I checked in, to make sure people are okay. Carol has some, her family has a house there too, so it was pretty bad.
Yeah,
it was awful.
When does the move to New York happen, and is it just Danny and Allie? Is it just the two of you that moved to New York?
Yeah, we got married in 2015, and at that time we were just like, we'd been trying to tour and everything outside of Florida, and it's really hard to tour in Florida. It's a very large state. It takes, like you got to do like 2 weekends to get out of Florida. No, it's very hard. So, I have some family in the Northeast, which, was important to me to, I wanted to be near my family. If I was going to move anywhere, we're both kind of East Coast people. So we got married in February on Valentine's Day of 2015. And we decided that we would, that summer in May, start looking at apartments. And I think we moved in, it was like July 3rd, right? Or July 2nd of 2015. So we've been in New York for 7 years now.
You did the Warped Tour in 2014. Did that inspire you to want to, take the band to the next level sort of thing?
Oh, 100%. I mean, Danny and I have always been like really like into this. Like, this is what we love to do. We met, like I said, I auditioned for the band. It was a different band at the time in 2009, right, Danny? 2008. I was in his band, Only Right Left. And we met and we just became friends, and we wrote a lot of the songs together. And we just were very much of like, on the same page. We just kind of both got it. And yeah, definitely. And so, yeah, we wanted to take it to the next level, and we just kind of had a few false starts. So we were like, a little change of scenery maybe will help us. New York is no joke. We moved to New York and and it took us a while to get acclimated, just to get used to the city. We weren't, used to how fast everything is here. And like people, like I said, no joke, you're playing with some really heavy hitting musicians here. It beat the shit out of us. We got here, and it wasn't until I think 2017 that we started playing in New York.
So Carol, how did you meet them?
So much like Allie met Danny on a MySpace post, I met Allie through a Facebook post. She posted in New York City Musicians Connect, looking for a background singer for a gig. Hit me up. And I did. We played a gig. I think it must have been October of 2017. And I think maybe your guys' first show in New York City. But yeah, I was so great. I'm so grateful that I responded to that message. I think about all the Craigslist ads I responded to, all the Facebook ads I responded to, and here I am 5 years later, still playing with these people, and I'm so, so grateful for that.
Money in the Bank, that's your first album as a new band. I mean, it kind of feels like you're a new band, right? At this point, after New York. Yeah.
Yeah, we're a new band.
And I feel like that Money in the Bank feels like a big step forward. And you can hear there's definitely similarities sonically and musically with Money in the Bank and Got It. But some of that, obviously, it's the new lineup, but it's also some of that's working with Agent J, which you did for both those records, right?
Right.
Did you know him before you started working on Money in the Bank?
No. Well, you look, when we were in Miami, we did play with the Slackers when they would tour down there at Churchill's, which was our like local spot. And so we knew them through that, but no, like we didn't have a working relationship. Danny and I were super scared. We were like, we got here and we're like, all right, we got these songs together. Let's ask him, what's he going to say? Like, like, hey, would you like to work on this record with us? And like, what if he says no? And he's so wonderful. He was like like I'm telling you, we really were like very nervous. And he was just like, yeah, send me the tunes. Let's do it. Like,
Now, I've read a few interviews where he asked what you were going for, and you said 60s to 70s influence.
Yeah, somewhere between the 60s and the 80s. Definitely is.
60s and 80s, that's what I meant. So can you expand on what you mean by that?
Allie and I are both like really big fans, like humongous, stupid, crazy Beatles fans. Poured over it, own anthologies, we have like the same records of our Beatles records that we've had before we met, that we've never gotten rid of the duplicates. Like the songwriting, the recording techniques, the harmonies, the fascination, the kind of like, no matter what, it's still pop. Like all of it was mind blowing to us as songwriters, and like this is honestly the cornerstone of why it works with us, because like Ali and I work as songwriters together as a team so very, very well. And then the same thing, we're both like into psychedelia, and and we're both into like new wave, because all the keyboard sounds, the synth sounds, the guitar tones, all that like weirdness but still happiness. We're both like big fans of pop. And those ranges of like those ingredients are what you hear on our stuff. Really tight harmonies, really like pop forward sensibilities with some weirdness that like you could miss if you're not looking for them, but if you're looking for them, you're like, cool. Um, and that was always like the thing, and we weren't like tight yet until Money. And like Ali and I became much better songwriters. We learned more about the genre, which like informed the way that we write much more now, with making sure we're using the right drum beats, like the bass drum on the right. And the whole point, like the whole goal now, is to make sure you keep moving. You have to keep moving. You can think, but you can't stop and think. You have to move and think. And yeah, the 60s to the 80s, kind of like dreamy washiness, kind of like that plate, open plate reverb on the voice,
yeah.
the space echo stuff, that's used in early dub and everything. And honestly, Jake gets that real well.
I think that even Crazy Bald Head has that kind of overall tone in their music as well. Yeah. So when we gave Jay our influences and showed him our songs, our demos, and things that we liked, yeah, he really just got it. And I swear to you, I'm not doing that on purpose. He really, he really understood what we were saying. So anyway, and yeah, just love having him involved with us.
Band doesn't have horns. You have a lot of use of keyboards and vocal harmonies.
Yes.
This is all very intentional in terms of your vision. Can you talk about each of these three components, why they're important to Stop the Presses, and how they sort of interact with each other?
Well, Danny and I also have always been big fans of harmony in our songwriting and our music, and definitely 2 and 3 part harmonies. We love a lot of the Studio One records. We love a lot of like early Jamaican ska. The Heptones is a wonderful trio, and Toots and the Maytals as well. The songwriting, how it lends itself to a lot of call and response. So I think that is definitely a component that we've always tried to keep. And then, Danny and I are both melodic, we play melodic instruments. So, and I think maybe this even goes to that psychedelic kind of writing again, and score writing. As I said, I have like a classical background, and a lot of the, instrumental music that I've been influenced from is even like orchestral in a way. So arrangement has been a big part of our music, and having parameters sometimes of like, we only have the piano or, an organ and a guitar, and how can we make this interesting between the two of us, without having to add horns, without having to add more players. And I think it's like really expanded us and helped our creativity a lot.
In terms of the harmonies, this is for Allie and for Carol. What's the process of coming up with the harmonies?
Danny and I demo a lot of the music beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times it's me at home just singing over and over and over again. And then, asking Carol to lend her beautiful voice to the harmonies.
So the new record, you've been working with Jump Up on this new record.
Yeah, it's so wonderful.
Is this the first time? Has it been self-released up into this point?
Yes, Money in the Bank was self-released. And then with Got It, we started getting into the room, and we were, playing some of the songs kind of, actually, I think it was over the pandemic. So we were just playing them like on live streams and stuff, demoing them that way. And, we kind of put out like a little feeler to see like, oh, we're writing some songs. Is anyone interested in maybe putting out some tunes for us? And Chuck had responded. And Danny and I, of course, we knew Jump Up Records. So we started getting a dialogue going. And it's just been really great to have, finally someone helping us put out our music. It's wonderful. And it's like, we're very, very thankful to Chuck and everything that he's done. He puts out some really great records, and he, has always great ideas, and was able to put out Got It on, vinyl, cassette, and CD, which has just been just a great help to us.
Do you guys like listening to music on cassette?
Music on cassette is so cool. I love it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, the bass response on cassette I had forgotten about until we listened to our own music. It's like, oh my God, that's right. The low end on tape is incredible. It's perfect for the genre.
Was that one of the dogs?
That was Pepper. She wants to go in the other room.
Did you do the full Warped Tour in 2019 as well, or just parts?
We only did New Jersey. We played in Holden, New Jersey. And we played with the Shearer Girl stage. We've kept a relationship with Shearer Girl, and just she's so awesome. I don't know if anyone knows of like her music and what she does for like women in the punk rock scene and non-binary folks. She's incredible.
The closing song on Got It is called AIWTDIS. Could you talk a little bit about the song?
Sure. Yeah, the song is called Iwadis.
Yeah. All I want to do is sleep. Yeah.
All I want to do is sleep. It's an acronym that we made up. This is just something that I said, right, Danny?
Yeah, we were on a couch on like just out of town. We took a quick vacation to like an Airbnb in the middle of nowhere. And we're sitting on the couch, and she's like, we were supposed to go to the grocery store or something. And she's like, oh, all I want to do is sleep.
Yeah, we went on a friends trip, and they just all wanted to do all different things. And I was just like, yeah, that's all I wanted to do. Just sleep.
And yeah, I was like fascinated with the syllables of it. And I was like, ooh, there's something there. What if we did some like, like one of those acronym songs, or like, something chantable. But it's all I want to do is sleep.
The ending of the song, you're singing, I want peace, I want peace.
Singing Iwadis.
Oh, really? Okay. I thought it was I want peace. I was like, wow. Bringing it home.
Same thing. Same difference.
I would be.
I mean, it'll be on the live version now. Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening to In Defense of Ska. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you normally stream or download episodes. If you haven't already, grab a copy of my book, In Defense of Ska, available at clashbooks.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. It's at In Defense of Ska. And please consider joining our Patreon at patreon.com/indefenseofska. You will get monthly bonus episodes, extended interviews and commentary per episode, and access to the In Defense of Ska Discord. In Defense of Ska would not be possible without the great team that tirelessly works on it every week. So you should go check out their other projects as well. Co-host Adam Davis has an amazing band called Omnigon. Give them a follow on Instagram and Twitter. It's simply at Omnigon. And our editor, Chris Reeves, has a phenomenal record label and podcast called Ska Punk International. For more information, go to skapunkinternational.com. And if you've ever enjoyed one of the highly specific In Defense of Ska memes floating around the interwebs, it was likely the work of The Bands I Like Only Charge $18. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And on that note, we leave you by saying, Ska now more than ever.
Oh, damn, I forgot to ask how they got their name. Oh.
Stop the Presses. Great episode this week, but we did not find out that's their name.
Hey, but guess what we did do? We did ask them a bunch more questions behind the curtain over on our Patreon. If you want to hear
down
some more of this episode, if you didn't get enough, there's more.
We broke down a couple of their songs, one song from their new record and one song from their previous record. Yeah. And they get into they go in depth of the lyrics and the music inspiration behind these songs.
So for only $5,
just
go sign up for the Patreon and then we can stop doing these outros. Okay.
Yeah. Once you sign up,
we can just play the episode. You gotta record these extra bits and remind you every week.
Every week you need reminding. All right. So make sure you also subscribe to the podcast so that you'll be right there.
Yeah. Leave us a 5-star review too. Leave some nice words. We always like seeing that stuff.
Next week we have a great episode with Chris Gethard.
So
you're going to want to subscribe so you're not going to miss it.
Do it now.
Yeah. And Adam, go ahead and say what you want to say.
I don't want to say anything. We already said it.
Okay.